Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to a show that I'm titling, Why Do I Still Buy CDs and What Are My Listening Habits? I get people asking me all the time, well, Pete, you always show CDs. Do you not buy or listen to vinyl? Do you not collect vinyl? And Pete, what's your stereo system set up like? And how do you listen to music? And what are your listening habits? So I figure, you know what? Let's do a whole episode on me just kind of talking about why I prefer these things over, the big vinyl, and why I don't use Spotify, and where I listen to my music and how I listen to my music. So, as you know, and again, this is another question. Pete, how many CDs do you have? I don't know. I haven't counted. 10,000? Probably. I've always loved, and I'm an old vinyl guy. I bought and collected vinyls from the late 70s all the way up until about like maybe 1989. And somewhere in between there, I also slowed up on buying vinyl and started buying lots of cassettes, especially when I was living in Long Island for a couple of years, like in the latter part of the 80s. Cassettes just seemed to be a little bit easier. But I was buying vinyl pretty regularly from, like, say, 76, 77 till, mid-late 80s, right? Plus cassettes. So I had a few hundred vinyl records back in the day. But, when CDs came out, I was into the portability of it all. I mean, these are small. They don't take up a lot of room on the shelf, right? Yeah, booklets are kind of smaller, but you still get, all the stuff that you would get in an LP jacket, right? All the information on who plays on the album, what the lyrics are, all that good stuff, who produced it, where it was recorded at, all that kind of stuff. I like that stuff, right? So you're going from opening up something large to opening up something a bit smaller. But for me, what I really liked about having these, and I thought they sounded great. I still think they sound great, but we'll get to that in a minute. I could take this pretty much anywhere and play it, right? If I'm going out in the backyard, I bring out a little portable CD player, plug it in, pop this in. I go in the car, I take this with me, or a bunch of others, I pop it in the car. Kind of a little more challenging now with new cars, but we'll get to that in a bit. If I'm going downstairs and I'm going to go cook dinner, pop this in a player down there, listen to it while I'm cooking dinner. I'm in the bathroom, put a player, if I have a CD player in there, put this in, play it there. I can take this virtually anywhere and play it anywhere. Not so with a piece of vinyl, right? Can't bring a record player out back or in the car or, to a picnic or whatever. So that gets a little bit difficult, right? So I've always liked the portability of these quite a bit. And they're a lot easier to store. As you can see, I've had custom shelves made here from a local contractor. When we bought this house, I used to have these spinning CD towers and all sorts of stuff. Drove my wife absolutely nuts. She goes, when we buy this house, you are not carrying those around with you anymore. Because I had like 3 of them. Each one holds like 1,200 CDs or whatever the number was. And once they were filled, I started stacking stuff on top. So to go turn the towers around, you're liable to knock stuff over. It's just totally ridiculous, and to the point where they just looked ridiculous. I had custom shelves built. And I'm even kind of outgrowing that as well, as you can see with all the stuff that's facing out. But when you have a lot of them, you need something like this. You need some way to organize them. And the one thing, which it's even worse for vinyl, but even though these look really small, right, and they're really light, when you put like hundreds and thousands of them together in boxes, they are a pain to move. I will tell you, when we moved from our previous place to this house, when we bought this house, I had many boxes of CDs, and each one's got hundreds of them. They weigh a shit ton, man, let me tell you. Put hundreds and thousands of these little plastic things together in a box, that box gets really heavy. But for me, it's like these are now easy to store. Now that I have a place for them, and I got movies here as well, they're easy to store. With the rate that I buy in a mass music, if I had made the switch to vinyl, I would not have the room for them. I just don't have the space for thousands of LPs. Just don't. I mean, they're, obviously, the size difference, right? Even though the vinyl is a little bit thinner, they're much, much bigger. You can't put them on a shelf like this, right? It would not be possible. This entire room would be filled with vinyl if that was the case, and I would not be able to move. So it's not an option. As far as like the audio quality. So, like I said before, I never had an issue with the sound quality of CDs. From day one, I always said that they sound perfectly fine to me, crystal clear audio. And as someone who grew up with vinyl, I'm not as enamored with the whole vinyl sounds better than CD mentality, which a lot of old school vinyl people will tell you. If you have a really expensive top of the line stereo system, there might be a bit of a difference. Okay, but I never got this whole vinyl sounds warmer thing. I think either medium is going to sound great on a great stereo, is what it comes down to. For me, the CD format has always been a great listening experience. And for years and years and years, now 30 plus years now, I never miss the sound of vinyl. So many people are like, oh, but it's not the same. Not to my ears. I have no issue with CD sound quality whatsoever. We talked about the size factor before. So yeah, sometimes, let me pick another one so I'm not just constantly looking at the same CD here. All right, so again, booklets. I'm a big booklet guy. I'm a big info guy. Artwork, pictures, all that sort of thing, live photos, information on who plays what and all that sort of thing. For the most part, this is fairly readable. Right? But, like without my glasses, forget it. There are some booklets, and for many CDs I've gotten, where the print is so small and the lettering is really dark, even with, I can't read it. I'm just like, what the hell is that saying there? So, but I have gotten used to this size, for sure. Is it as, like, eye-catching as you pull out a big vinyl record, right, with the great gatefold and all that sort of stuff, and all the liner notes, full size? Yeah, it's not quite as eye-catching as that. But to me, it's not that big of a deal. I don't miss that too much. Sometimes I go to like a record store, I go to Rock Fantasy, whatever, and I see all these, nice vinyl records, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, right? Steve Show opens something up, and then I'm like, oh, look at that, that's still impressive. The old vinyl, I mean, think of the old like Chicago records from the late 60s, early 70s, right? We had that triple gatefold, and it comes with posters and all this cool stuff, and I remember the old Kiss Alive and Alive 2 albums you open, it's like, I remember those days, right? Because I was buying vinyl back then, so do I really miss it though? Occasionally. But to me, it's not that big a deal. And plus, I think, like CD box sets are fun, right? You get these, you open these things up, and you got, all this stuff like, backstage passes, and you got, patches and guitar picks and all sorts of stuff. I'm not going to show you too much here because I will be doing an unboxing video of that Tom Petty live at the Fillmore. So, but yeah, CD box sets are really cool. Again, they take up a lot of space. So I don't buy a ton of them, but I do get a fair amount of them, and I think box sets are pretty neat, right? You get books and multiple CDs and DVDs all in a nice little compact package that maybe is the size of a hardcover book. Can't really do that with vinyl, right? So the cost factor. CDs are relatively cheap these days. A brand new CD of a brand new release, generally could cost you anywhere from like $9.99 to like $14.99. Fairly inexpensive. You're going to go buy something on the used market. Let's see what we got here. So if I go out, go out to buy like an old Striper CD, you can probably find it used out there for anywhere from a couple bucks to maybe $10. They're easy and cheap to ship, right? You can certainly go out and buy cheap used vinyl that's kind of beat up and whatnot. And some people do that. They don't really care. As long as, you inspect the actual piece of vinyl itself, there's no scratches and anything like that. Maybe the jacket and the outside cover is kind of beat up, but it's playable. Some people are like, I go and I buy, a couple dollar records at all sorts of shops and flea markets and things like that. I don't really care. Just want to have them, right? So if that's your thing, yeah, you can get cheap vinyl as well. But, new vinyl prices, crazy high. The cost of the materials that go into making records has gone through the roof. I mean, how many times I talk to Steve Keeler all the time. He talks about how trying to get certain new releases in vinyl takes forever because they're only pressing so much at a time because the cost is through the roof. So yeah, CDs are relatively cheap. You can go out. I mean, I bought like almost the entire Tom Petty collection of CDs, used for not a lot of money. 16 CDs. I got so many of them for just a couple bucks. And so yeah, and they're perfectly in good condition, right? It's like new. So there's the cost factor. So we haven't talked yet about CDs versus like digital, like streaming and digital downloads and things like that. For me, when you stream, when you use Spotify or Apple Music or whatever it is that you use, you don't own anything. You own nothing. Spotify or Apple Music goes out of business, you got shit. You got nothing. Your hard drive crashes, something catastrophic happens to your computer, all those files you amassed, they're gone. You got nothing. Me, I grew up with physical product. Music was a physical product. You bought an LP, you bought an 8-track, you bought a cassette, you bought a CD. Okay? I like physical product. Just like a book, I don't do, reading books on Kindles and downloading books and all that kind of stuff. I still read physical books. I like to thumb through. I like to hold in my hand. To me, thumbing through a booklet while you're listening to an album on CD, looking at the cover art, gazing over the liner notes, that has value to me. To me, there's just no value to a download file or a stream. Plus, I mean, when you're downloading music, when you're streaming music on a platform, right? Big Brother's always watching you. Everything's tracked. They know exactly what you're listening to. Ooh, based on your listening experience, we're going to recommend this to you. I get enough of that on YouTube, right? Because I do experiment and I do listen to stuff on YouTube occasionally, but more as a way to say, okay, am I going to go buy this? Or quick information, quick listens to stuff that I'm going to talk about on the air. But if it's something that I like, I go out and buy it. I use a tool like YouTube specifically to test out something that I potentially want to own. But, when I go and play my CDs in my players here in the house, put it on my Blu-ray system, play it in the car, the only person who knows what I'm doing is me. That's it. Nobody's watching. Nobody's tracking anything. I like to have stuff, as you can see. Right? If you look around this room, I like my stuff. I like my CDs, my music. I like my books. I like my DVDs and Blu-rays now. Mostly I like my, little action figures, my guitars, my things like that. I'm a physical collector guy. But people nowadays seem to be all into this whole thing of I no longer need to own this stuff. All media stuff, I don't need to own anything. I want less clutter in my house. I want less clutter in my car. Don't want books on the shelf. Don't want bookshelves. Don't want racks of CDs. Don't want vinyl. Don't want magazines. Don't want newspapers. Don't need any of that stuff. You can have them. You don't need physical. I don't need to carry anything around. Don't need to store anything. It's just easier that way. So what do you have at that point? You got furniture, right? You got lamps, paintings on the wall, flowers and vases and things like that. You got nothing. So you have people over, right? You hanging out with friends and relatives, and there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing. Oh, yeah. Did you ever read this book? Pull the book out, talk about it. Did you ever listen to this record? You ever watch this movie, right? Oh, yeah, I see it's available on demand, right? Yeah, it's whatever. Conversation moves on to something else. So, to me, I'm not interested in an empty house with no stuff. You stare at the walls, you sit in the furniture. Yay, okay. I like to see my bookshelves. I like to see my movies. I like to see my CDs. I like to go reach for a guitar, right? I like the physical stuff. I like having stuff. I'm a stuff kind of guy. What can I tell you? All right, so what else? How about with me especially, and this is a me thing, right? Not everybody is like me. So there's probably a lot of people that are going to be watching this that have different viewpoints on all these things. And that's perfectly okay because we're all different. But I am I'm a continuity guy. Okay. So I grew up, when you listen to an album, okay, we're talking the old days, right? A piece of vinyl, right? I like to hear albums from start to finish as they were intended for me to listen to, as the artist laid them out and presented them to us. I'm not a shuffle guy. I don't go set up playlists. You know, I talk to, and again, people are into this. It's the modern thing to do. I get it. I have a playlist for the gym. I do shuffle when we have people over. I do this, that, and the other thing, and nobody's interested in albums. I pick the songs I like, and that's what I want to do. That's not me. That's not me. I go to the gym. I've got 2 160 gig classic iPods of basically full albums that I put into iTunes from all this stuff, right? And I'm going to be buying a third one fairly recently because you can still get those out there. They sell them used and refurbished and things like that. And basically, on my 5-minute drive to the gym every day on my lunch hour, I have already decided what album I'm going to listen to during my workout before I leave my car and walk into Gold's Gym. That's me. And a lot of times my entire ride from my house to the gym is deep. I'm deep in thought about exactly what I think I'm in the mood to listen to. Right? So before I walk in that door, I've already put my earbuds in, and I've dialed up that particular album on my iPod, and it's already playing when I walk in the door of Gold's Gym. Already playing. To me, like handpicking stuff from albums or just streaming what you like kind of goes against how we all grew up listening to albums and records in the first place. And I think, you know, for me, these artists, these bands, they go to great lengths to create these works of art. And they, along with the record labels, they put these songs together on an album as an album to be listened to as an album. And I think we're living in a society where everything is such throwaway, and we don't really have much of an attention span anymore. It's like, oh, so that song instantly grabs me, I'll put that to my Spotify playlist. Or that song I've gone through really quickly through 10 songs on this new album, and yeah, only 3 or 4 really grab me at the first quick listen. I'll download those, I'll forget the rest. But what about the old days where we would buy a new album or a couple albums and we would spend months listening to those start to finish to really get used to the album, to really see if any of these songs will be slow growers and entrench themselves into our psyche, into our brains, into our memories. Maybe after that 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th listen, right? And then, in fact, after those couple of months, we're like, you know what? I really love this record by Iron Maiden. 8 of the songs I love. The other 2 are okay. But I still listened to the album through and through, and at least I gave the whole thing a chance. I talked to a lot of people. Granted, again, there's nothing wrong if you have a habit where you give things a quick listen and you grab what instantly grabs you and you move on to something else. We have a couple viewers here, regulars on the channel, who that's what they do, and they feel very strongly about that, and I get it. That's not me, though. It's like I like to have the whole recorded work together. I'm not a hand-picked kind of guy. It's like if I add, the new Threshold to my iTunes to add to my iPod, the whole thing is going on there. But no, I feel like nobody gives anything much of a chance anymore. It's like, one quick cursory listen, if even that, maybe it's just fast-forwarding through stuff. It's just like you're not giving that song a chance. So that's why, to me, like the whole streaming thing, it's like, oh, yeah, this isn't grabbing me a minute into it. I'll go to the next one. It's like we just don't give anything a chance anymore to get ingrained into our being. And, not everything can be quickly consumed, after a minute listen. I think, we're just not giving music a chance anymore. And that's the way the world is right now. Everything, it's information. Everything is like quick, throw things here and there. See what sticks. It's just, to me, that's not the way I like to listen to music. That's not the way I like to, read a book. That's not the way I like to ingest news. That's not the way I like to watch a movie or watch television or things like that. It's the same thing, you get it here on on YouTube, I'm sure there's plenty of people who watch content here on Sea Tranquility, and if in the first 30 or 60 seconds they're not fully grabbed in, they're already out going watching something else. But I remember growing up watching television, and you had specific programs you watched religiously week in and week out. You watched the whole episode. You didn't give up after 5 minutes, because sometimes, hey, 10, 15 minutes into it really picks up steam and something great happens. They save the stuff that really hooks you for the last 10 minutes. We don't live in a society that does that anymore, right? We don't give anything. If it doesn't grab you in the first couple minutes, that's it. Move on to something else. It's a shame, but I just a lot of people are asking what are my listening habits. So that's so when do I listen to music? I listen to music all day while I'm working. Obviously, while I'm working my day job, obviously it's more like background type stuff, but occasionally I'll be like, oh, something will catch my attention. If it's something I'm listening to that I know I want to review, I may occasionally jot down a couple notes here and there. Sometimes it's just, stuff that I have on while I'm working that maybe I bought that for pleasure listening, right? And, I will listen to that stuff, enjoy it. I listen to music always when I'm working out. Generally speaking, while I'm at the gym exercising and working out, I listen to stuff that, familiar things, very familiar things. In the car, driving to the gym and to and from other places, errands and things like that, and going to visit people and whatnot, I generally listen to newer stuff. So like after I have reviewed new albums, which I generally speaking listen to and review and try to digest here in this office, once I've done that, once I've done a video review and or done a written review on our website, that CD then goes into the car. So generally speaking, what's in my car are new things I've acquired that I've maybe already reviewed or maybe not reviewed, right? Maybe I just something new that I bought that I just wanted to have. Most of the new stuff then goes into my car, where for the next few months, sometimes longer than a few months, I am listening to that stuff in rotation, getting really, really used to that stuff. And then maybe after about a year, or maybe not quite, and I generally do this at the end of the year. So like, perfect example. So now here we are in December 2022. I am already looking at what's in my car now, and most of that stuff is 2022 and 2021 releases that I've moved into the car that I've been listening to a lot for the last year. So a lot of that stuff will be coming out in favor of the second half of 2022 releases that I have sitting in here in my office that, okay, reviewed them, ready to go into the car for just regular enjoyment. So that's kind of how that works. Do I listen to a lot of music in the house in general, like outside of this office? When I'm cooking dinner, I usually will put a CD on. Very rarely do I listen to music sitting out in the living room on my home theater system. Occasionally, but not that often. Mostly it's in the car, in this office, or like while I'm cooking. Do I listen to music outside, like in the summertime? Yeah, that I do. Then sometimes I bring out a little portable CD player and a little stack of CDs if I'm going to spend a couple hours out by the pool or out on the patio. Other times I will just bring out one of my iPods and just connect that to a portable speaker, so to speak. So, so there's that. So, what else? Another cool thing, and let's see if I have any examples of this handy here. Maybe not handy, but there is the aspect of like remasters and reissued CDs. So, and I'll go back to the Tom Petty thing again for this is not really a good example. Do I have any remaster here? Anyway, remastered and reissued CDs often come with bonus content, right? Because you can fit almost 80 minutes of music on a CD, right? Not the same with the vinyl. You can't always include, and they don't always include, bonus material on vinyl LPs. Right? So I think, how many times, we've talked about this before, how many times have I rebought like Rush albums on CD? I had the original LPs, I bought cassettes, I've bought the CDs like 2, 3, 4 times over, right? Because they keep reissuing them. Bonus live album, bonus alternate tracks, bonus studio tracks never before released. The Jethro Tull catalog is very, indicative of that, right? So you get these CDs that they reissue them and you get all this extra stuff that you can't get on a vinyl copy, right? And, another thing, too, I'm just kind of thinking of. So, in those instances where, let's say I go and buy a CD, I take a chance on a band, right? someone recommends something to me and I go out and buy one of their albums on CD and I listen to it and I give it, a fair chance, and I'm like, I'm just really not liking this much. Reselling a CD is fairly simple nowadays. I sell and I've sold lots of stuff that I bought that I just ultimately decided I didn't want to keep. I've sold on Amazon, I've sold on eBay. A lot of people resell on Discogs, right? There's lots of places you can resell CDs. It's relatively cheap to do that. You package it up in a little mailer, right? Stick it in a little mailer, put a little, sticker on the outside where it's going, your return information, and off it goes. And it generally costs very little to, most of the time you can ship it medium mail. It costs very little to actually sell and ship a CD to someone who's looking to buy it from you. You're going to resell vinyl, right? It gets a little more difficult. You got to have the vinyl box. It's kind of big and bulky, right? You got to really pack it right to make sure, because vinyl is very easy to break, to damage, right? That's a big, long, wide box, right? So it's a little more expensive to ship. So, and the possibilities of getting damaged, right, are much, much greater than a CD getting damaged on its way to the buyer. You might get occasionally the jewel case might get cracked or something like that, but for the vinyl, it's very important that piece of vinyl not get cracked and damaged. And another thing too, we talked about streaming services before. With a CD, I don't have to worry that and this was the case not long ago. King Crimson has a new album out. Oh, but I'm a Spotify user, and King Crimson's music is not on Spotify. What do I do now, right? I don't have to worry about that. I buy it, it's mine. I got it to listen to whenever I want. I don't have to worry about if Spotify has it. I don't have to worry about if Apple Music has it. I don't have to worry about, is there a download I can buy? The good thing about downloads, if that's your way of doing things, as opposed to streaming, is, many artists and bands use Bandcamp now, so usually you can go on Bandcamp and you can either buy the download of the album or individual songs, or you can get a CD or an LP, so that's good. But the streaming services, you're basically at their mercy on what they are going to have on their platform, and a lot of times you have specific artists that don't want their music, their catalog on a particular streaming service, so then you're kind of screwed, right? So you're at their mercy. The internet goes down, no big deal for me. I just pop this in my CD player. I can enjoy it wherever and whenever I like. I do not have to worry about, the internet is down. Because it doesn't happen that often, but, it does happen, right? Depending on what type of service you have, right? So, So anyway, those are some of the many reasons why I still buy CDs, why I prefer physical music. Again, this may not be how you listen to music or how you buy music or how you store music or whatever. That's quite all right. I basically just wanted to do this episode because I do get these questions all the time, like literally all the time. Between that and, again, just to reiterate, I don't have this big expensive stereo system. Everybody always asks, Pete, I want to know exactly the kind of equipment you listen to your music on and all that kind of stuff. I never have owned expensive stereo equipment. Right, I have little portable Sony CD players all over the house. All right, I have a fairly decent home theater system in my living room. The Blu-ray player and speakers and subwoofer and soundbar and whatnot. And that sometimes when I occasionally want to listen to something, get the whole experience, I'll do that. I don't do that too often. And I have a nice little stereo system in my Toyota 4Runner in the car. And that's another thing. Now they make all new vehicles no longer have CD players. What am I going to do, right? I'm already thinking about, granted my car's 7 years old and I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon, but I'm already thinking down the line when eventually the day comes where I might get a new vehicle. How am I going to listen to my CDs, right? Am I going to get a little portable external CD drive and plug that in? And I might, because I'm not ready to give up, bringing CDs in the car. It's just the way I am, and I'm so used to doing that. So it's hard to change the old dinosaurs' habits, right, and routines. So that's the way it goes. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Please feel free to share your viewpoints down in the comments below on how you listen to music, how you buy music, the type of medium that you prefer, and why. Again, we're all different. We all do these things, and we all have different habits, and we all prefer the formats and the mediums that we like, and it's all cool, right? I mean, that's what makes us all different. I often say, we all hear things differently, but we all like to enjoy music in different ways, in different formats, and we have different buying habits and things, and that's what makes the world go round, that we're all different. So there's no right or wrong answer. There isn't. It's just based on what you like, right? So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together, all the damn time. Stay tuned. We've got, as you can see, I am back in the office. So I was in Washington, D.C. for a few days. It was kind of cool to get away for a few days and get back out into the world, and doing some business travel and whatnot. It was good to be in D.C. I haven't been there in just under 3 years, so that was kind of cool. But stay tuned for the Monsters Den tonight. We are going to be kind of reviewing the recent film Smile. That's what's coming up tonight. And then, of course, Martin Popoff and I are back in the Funhouse tomorrow talking about has hair metal or glam metal grown up, right? We're going to be talking about some albums that kind of signify that whole 80s style of music that we've called glam metal, hair metal, right? How it kind of grew up post 1990 in a lot of ways. So we'll be talking about that. And then, of course, we've got Saturday is the UK Connection, and Sunday is Ranking the Album. Saturday, we will have Stephen and I will be doing another episode of AOR Melodic Rock Classics. And then Sunday, I will be ranking the albums of Swedish stoner rock act Spiritual Beggars. That's coming up this Sunday. A week from Sunday, you're going to get the Tom Petty ranking. That's coming up as well. So stay tuned for that and a lot more here on the channel. Thanks for watching. I am Pete Pardo. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.